What is the difference between upstroke and downstroke CNC press brake?
Downstroke press brake is a normally we are using is a downstroke. Or upstroking means it is inverse of the downstroke, because upstroking the ram is fixed, the table with the die with the material everything goes up, including back gauge and all that. So that is upstroking. Whereas in downstroking, the table is fixed and the ram is coming down. So that is the basic difference of downstroking and upstroking press brake. So
Okay. What are the different types of press brake?
there are many types of press brake, but we start with the basic press brake, which was started. It is a mechanical press brake with all mechanical parts like clutch, brake. Accuracy, you don't get good accuracy. It's very noisy operations. Material handling is always accident pro. So that is the basic one. So mostly nobody is using now these days. The second one is a rocker arm type. The depth control is done by limit switches. Now, limit switches is an electrical switch. It doesn't stop the depth or the ram at the same time every time, every stroke. So that is why accuracy it differs. So accuracy is you are not getting good accuracy in every stroke. So the next version comes is the NC press brake. NC press brake is a numerical control is done. So depth we can seize, like you have to do some trial and error method where you get the proper depth. You think that this bending is proper now. So that particular reading you have to freeze in that NC controller. So every time when you recall the same program, it will give the same depth. Unless the material change with the properties and all that, it may give a little error in the angle here and there. So accuracy is not very high or not very good, but compared to the rocker arm limit switch, it is we can say is the better. But better option now the press brake is CNC press brake. It is using proportional control valve, the proportional system of the hydraulic and all that, and it is very accurate, giving very accurate in 01, 02, 03 in that portion. It gives the accuracy, and all the back gauges and all so many axes are controlled by the uh, computerized controller. So you get very good accuracy in that. The next is CNC hybrid come bidirectional pump press brake. So this is using very less oil and very environment friendly also, and is also energy saver, better efficiency and better accuracy it gives. They use hydraulic pressure to drive the ram, but control of the direction of the ram is movement is via AC servo motor. So very low noise, and you can say ultra high speed we can get from that.
Right.
So that is the speciality of this particular press brake. And the last one is a fully hydraulic press brake. Here, the servo motors drive the ram through the heavy ball screws and all that. So it is give very high accuracy in all that. The only limitation in this that you cannot go above 150 metric tons capacity. So that is the disadvantage or the whatever you call it. So this was all about the press brakes.
What is the advantages of downstroking CNC press brake over upstroking press brake?
Hmm. Basically, is a material handling. See, when the ram is coming down, in downstroking, the material and the die and everything is lying on the table. It's not moving. So it is easy to handle, particularly when the sheet is very heavy or very thick and all that. So that is the, prime advantage of that. If the outstroking, it's very difficult to handle because the table is coming up with the material. So you have to handle the sheet itself, it's heavy, and doing the gauging at the back gauge, that is also difficult. So that is the basic advantage of the downstroking. Yeah.
What is crowning in press brake? Why is it important?
Crowning, you see, basically when load comes on the table, it has structure basically. So when maximum load or the full load it is observed on the job, the table it is getting sagged. Sagged means it gets curved and all that. So that is the inaccuracy you will find in the job. So to eliminate that sag, it is known as crowning is known as anti-deflection, because whatever deflection comes on the table, so we make some sort of device so that that error is compensated. So to compensate that sagging, we are providing the crowning effect. So anti-deflection device we are giving there, and it makes it other way sag. See, if it is going the downward sag with the board, so previously before we operate, you give the other way upside so that when pressure comes or the load comes, it becomes properly okay. And this is all controlled by the controller. All you have to feed the data in the controller. The CNC controller will manage everything. So this is also crowning is because we are doing the other way up the table, giving the shape like crown. So that is why it is known as a crowning. But you can say it is an anti-deflection device also.
How many axes are in the CNC press brake?
CNC press brake is having about X1, Y1, Y2, X1, X2, R1, R2, Z1, Z2, and crowning, which we discussed in the previous question, that is also known as the axis. So that many axes are Y1, Y2 means it is controlling the ram depth from both sides and gives the accuracy. X1, X2, R1, R2, Z1, Z2 are all back gauge axes. So when the back gauge is moving or coming near the table and going away, so X1, X2 means like this, and R1, R2 is going up and down like this. So R1 and R2, and Z1, Z2 is going away towards the side plate and coming near. So this also controlled. That is also known as the axis. So X1, X2, so 2 to 6, 7, and 8, 9 axes.
Total 9 axes.
9 axes are there.
Right. What are the basic material which can be bent on press brake?
See, all ductile materials you can bend, and all brittle materials you cannot bend or you cannot cut or you cannot bend. So ductile materials you can say carbon steel, so MS, mild steel, and a few carbon steels are there, the low carbon steel, medium carbon steel, high carbon steel. The carbon steel is again name according to percentage of the carbon involved in that. Mild steel means it is carbon percentage is very mild. So it never goes above 0.25 or something like that. Low carbon steel is that. And then the medium carbon steel is carbon content is more than 0.25, but it is up to 0.6. It doesn't go above 0.6 percent of the carbon. The high carbon steel is the carbon percentage is above zero point 0.6 but up to 2%. And the next is carbon percentage is more than 2, but and up to 4, then that material becomes brittle. So this is all about material that you wanted to know about the bending, cutting and all that. So then another material is SS, stainless steel. Stainless steel also you can cut and bend. It is a good durability material and all that. aluminum, soft aluminum you can cut and bend. All aluminum which are casted are brittle, so that cannot be bent or cannot be cut in the shear and all that.
Mostly, which material are used in industries?
In press industries,
In industries.
mostly MS, SS, lot of material is used, but MS common grade is what we call it mild steel. So very common mild steel is IS 2062 grade B. It is killed by silicon, so that is why it is known as a silicon killed steel. That is used in the industries for making structures and all things. The carbon content in IS 2062 grade B is around 0.24, not more than that. The second one in thinner thickness and all that, it is used as a HR sheets. HR sheets means hot rolled steel. And other one is the CRC. CRC is cold rolled steel. Hot rolled steel, uh, you compare with the CRC. CRC is cold rolled steel. So then cold rolled sheets are better quality, and all jobs we want to make and want to give the aesthetic views and all that, like cupboards and other thing, then people are going for the CRC. And particularly the grade they are using is IS 513 also. And in hot rolled, the normal in industries, the grade used is IS 1079. CR material is going through so many processes and all that. That is why it is costly if you compare with the hot rolled. So that is why some people are not using cold rolled and going for the hot roll. That is a cheaper option, but the quality wise and the better quality jobs and all that, you should go for the CRC. So CRC also, when it is going through certain process and all that, what happens that it internally it develops a stress. So in CRC when you are using also, so when you are cutting or bending or even welding and all that, that stress is relieved during all the operation, whether it is a cutting, whether it is a welding, whether it is a bending. So to avoid that, actually we are using, the sheet is called CRCA. CRCA cold rolled. So we are using the CRCA sheet. CRCA is a cold rolled uh, annealed sheet, closed annealed sheet. Right? Annealing is a process again. It is going through so many processes, and at the end of that, the annealing is done. Now, annealing is the process where the material is taken to a certain temperature and all that, and then the soaking temperature is calculated according to the size of the material and all that. The soaking temperature, slowly you increase the temperature and you have to reach the calculated soaking temperature, where 2, 3 or 4 hours, whatever is calculated, you have to maintain that soaking temperature, and then you have to do the cooling. Cooling is a very slow cooling, and you have to keep it in the oven itself. You don't have to take out the material outside, and you have to allow it to cool down there itself, and that annealing is done. So basically, all the stresses are relieved, and the total entire structure of the seed, it becomes very what we call it is a streamlined grain structure it becomes. And stress, if you see the yield stress and all that, it's all increased, and you get about 21 kg per centimeter square to 41, 42 kg per cm square UTS. UTS is ultimate tensile strength. And also the elongation you get is a very good. This CRCS, it gives about 30% elongation. It means you can bend it more. I mean, you can deshape it more because it gets elongated up to 30% without changing the thickness and all that. So that is the advantage of the CRCS sheet.
Okay.
This CRCS sheet is mostly used in automotive parts and all that. It is also used, CRCS sheet is also used in the construction beams, panels, very suitable for stamping, bending and all that. The next material is a SS. Now SS is corrosion heat resistant alloys. So durability, high level of hygiene and all that is available in the SS. Now SS is again divided in so many parts. SS are having three types of SS. One is called austenitic. Austenitic is again divided into two parts. One is called the chromium nickel manganese steel, and the other one is known as a chromium nickel steel. So chromium nickel and manganese steel is known as a 200 series, like we say 201, 202, 203. Austenitic material is having a carbon content is about 18%, nickel is about 5%, and manganese is about 8%. So that is there, that is 200 series. I mean, yeah, and in the chromium nickel steel, the only chromium and nickel are present. Manganese is not there. The chromium percentage is about 18%, and the nickel is 8%. So this is known as a 300 series. Like mostly in industries, we are using 300 series, 304, 316, 304L, 316L, all that. So this is all known as a austenitic. 200 series and 300 series is known as a only 200 series, that what we call it chromium nickel manganese steel is cheaper compared to the chromium nickel steel 300 series steel, because the nickel percentage is less. It's only 5 to 6% is there, whereas in the 300 series the nickel percentage is about 8. So this nickel is increasing the price of the material. So people are choosing 200 series somewhere instead of 315 or 304 or 316. They are going for the 202 and all that because it is cheaper. And the third one is known as the ferritic steel. In this one, this is a 400 series. The ferritic and the martensitic, both are 400 series, but certain groups are there. Like in ferritic is 405 and 430 are good example of the. These are non-hardenable steels. And again, the martensitic is hardenable. Same 400 series. Some examples for this is 403, 410, 414. These are the martensitic.
What are the factors for a quality bending?
Quality
Bending.
For quality bending, there are so many factors. First of all, you should have a very good machine, rigid, well, accurate machine and all that. Not only that, but you should have good quality bending tools. Your machine is good, but the bending tools are not good. Inferior tools you are using and not properly hardened tools you are using, then quality bending you cannot achieve. At the same time, it is not only machine and tools, but the material which you are going to bend, it should be a good quality material. If the material is inferior, then your quality of the bending will never come, because if it is not stress free, it is wavy, it's not uniform thickness and all that, then good bending you can't expect. It should not be wavy, and at the same time it should be not rusted. It should be applied with the anti-corrosive paint and all that. So if you use all that, then you can definitely get the good quality of bending. Strength is the ability of the material to resist the external applied forces and all that. So internally it opposes that external force, and that we call it stress itself. Stiffness is the ability of material to resist the deformation under the pressure, under the stress, which we have defined the stress. Under that stress, to resist that is known as the stiffness. It is measured in modulus of elasticity. Then the important factor is hardness. Hardness is also a good property. It's a resistance to wear and tear you get in the material. So hardness has to be there for the good bending quality and all that. And this hardness is measured in either Brinell number. It is known as the HBN hardness Brinell numbers, HBN, or it is known as the Rockwell hardness. This Rockwell hardness is measured in 3 scales, A, B, or C. So HRA or HRB or HRC. So we are talking about the tools and other things of the press brake. These are all measured in the HRC and all that, high hardness and all that. So this is all about the bending.
Okay. What is the spring back of the material?
Spring back of the material is when you bend the material. It's a maybe bent part also, but when you remove the load, it will try to bounce back to its original position. So that particular quality of the material is known as a spring back. If you suppose want to bend 90 degree or something like that, if you exactly bend the 90 degree and you remove the load, it will slightly open. So this phenomenon is known as a spring back. It opens because of the spring back only. So you have to bend it a little more so that when with the spring back it opens, it gives the accurate measure. So this spring back is also calculated and given the impression in the on the job by controller itself. To calculate this spring back is not very easy. It is not impossible, I would say, but it is very, because so many factors are involved in that and so many variable factors are also involved in that. So it is very difficult to find. But if we see the position 1:1, like there is a relationship between the material thickness and the inside radius. If they both are same 1:1, then we can derive that some standard spring backs we can calculate. Like for HR, you can say it is 0.5 to 1 degree spring back. You can take it as a granted. Like for CRCA or CRC sheet, you can take from 0.75 to 2 degree or something like that. And mild aluminum also from 1.8 to 2. And stainless steel also, it's having 1 to 2 degree spring back it gives. So these are some derived standard. I mean, if you take that condition 1:1 thickness to inside radius, so that is taken as a granted. It may not be very accurate, but still people are counting that this may be okay.
Okay. What are the various terms used in metal?
There are so many, but we will discuss some important terms. One is called rimmed steel. Now, this rimmed steel's carbon is below 0.2%, and this rimmed zone is very pure steel, and this steel is also used for bright bars, wire drawing, and strips and all that. So that is called rim steel. So this was one. The other one is keeled steel. Now killing is done by two materials. One is called silicon keel steel. In case of IS 2062, I had told you that it is killed by silicon. So silicon keel steel it is known. So either it is killed by silicon or it is killed by aluminum. So it is known as a silicon killed steel or the aluminum killed steel. So by killing, it gives more what you call it, it gives more stability and grain structure. It gives a proper, and it increases little bit hardness of the material, and it is very suitable for the use and all that. The third one is known as a alloy steel. Now, alloy steel is a mixture of so many elements we put and all that, and we're increasing the carbon percentage. It may become medium carbon steel or a high carbon steel or some other alloys and all that. So, with the addition of the certain what we call it elements, it makes, it's a mixture of so many elements and all that. That is why it is called as a alloy steel. And next is called annealing, one process that is also common. Annealing we have already discussed in CRCSE. So annealing is process I had already discussed, that it gives the softness, it removes the stresses of the material, and improves the machinability also, so that it gives a good quality.
Right.
And similar type of process, there is one called normalizing. Normalizing and annealing is not much difference. Normalizing also known for the removing the stresses, to remove the stresses from the material and all that. It is also heated up to a certain temperature, and then, but it is cooled down in the open. Like in annealing, it was cooling, slow cooling was done in the oven itself. We are not taking it out. But here in the normalizing, we can take it out. So this normalizing can give better structure. Grain structure is better, and it improves the mechanical properties of the material. And one more is known as a word is known as a creep.
Creep.
Yeah, the creep is a slow deformation of the steel under the elevated temperature. The temperature is elevated, the slow deformation which occurs in the material is known as a creep. So these are the few terms which we are using. Yeah. There are so many, but these few importance that I have told you.
How many types of bending are possible on press brake?
There are basically three types of bendings are possible. One is called air bending. Air bending is also known as a 3-point bending. 3 points bending also. Okay. The other one bending, the second one is known as a bottoming, and the third one is known as a coining operation. So we'll discuss one by one. I will explain you air bending. Air bending is because the entire job is in the air. Okay. Only 3 points are in the contact. Okay. See, die to edge of the die. So 2 points, and the tip of the punch with the material. Only 3 points are in contact with the material, and the rest is all in the air. So that is called air bending. Now here the punch is presses the job into the die without pressing the walls of the die. So that is why the advantage, it just becomes easy to bend, and comparatively the load also required is less, because the punch does not have to pass through the surface of the material. So that is why it requires very less load compared to the bottoming and coining that we are going to discuss and all that. So that is the advantage of the air bending, you can say. And mostly in the industries, this air bending is used because it's very easy and very friendly and very common for the material. The basic calculation also done in the air bending. See, there is a standard that suppose if you keep your die opening 8 times the thickness of the material that you want to use, then basically that many, like say thickness is 5 millimeter, and your die opening is 8 times the 5 millimeter, so that is 40. So die opening is 40, so you need 40 tons per meter load. So that is the thumb rule. This is only up to the 8 millimeter thickness of the sheet, MS and all that. Now when talking about the load, we always talking about the metric tons. We normally say the ton, so many tons is there, but ton is metric ton. We are talking about metric ton. And metric ton, people are writing TONNE, this ton, the metric ton. Because 1 metric ton is equal to 1000 kilo. So, not to have any confusion and all that, always write, when you write the load, you write 100 empty. Empty means metric ton. Because there are other tons are also there. One is called long ton and the short ton. Now long ton is used in Britain, so that is why it is known as a BT also, British ton. Now this British ton, 1 BT or the 1 long ton is equal to 1016 kgs, is bigger than the metric ton. The short ton is used in the US, particularly Western US and all that. The short ton is about 907.18 kgs. So the people, when we are talking about the load, and there should not be any confusion whether he is talking about the short ton or long ton or so. We always consider the metric ton. So always make a practice to write MT. So we are talking about the metric ton also. Now this die opening, I told you, we normally keep 8 times the thickness. So it is up to 8 mm. But if it is above 8 mm, then die opening is changing. And this thumb rule which we are talking about, this 8 times the die opening is there. So load will be equal to the die opening times tonnage. The example I had given you that say 5 mm thickness is there. So 8 times the 5 is 40. So 40 is the die opening. So 40 ton load required for 1 meter. If you want to bend 3 meter, then you need 40 into 3. 120 ton load will be required. Now, in this press brake, you should keep one thing in mind, that whenever you are using the full load, the length of the table is say 3 meter. So at least 2/3 of the full length of the table, it must be used when you are using the full load of the machine. Like shorter, like 3 meter length is there, your bed length is 3 meter. So 2/3 of the 3 meter will be 3 into 2 by 3. So it is 2 meter. So you want to apply the full load. Your length of the job should not be less than 2 meter at any time. Okay. Otherwise, it will damage the ram. The ram will be warped. Like anti-deflection device, we were talking about the sag of the table. This will give the anti-sag of the ram. So to protect the ram, you should always use that 2/3 of the full length of the bed should be used whenever you are using the when you are utilizing the full load of the material. If it is a 300 press brake ton press brake capacity, or if it is a 200 ton capacity press brake, so when you are using that full load, this condition must be fulfilled. The second bending type is known as a bottoming. Now, bottoming is unlike air bending. This is a bottoming operation is a combination of both the punch radius and the die opening. These two are critical, and the punch radius must be kept as the desired radius of the job. So these three things are critical, and it must be the job. Now die opening should be sized or to be selected such that it gives the natural radius that you have taken for the job, and the correct natural radius it gives. And spring back, spring back also should be calculated before you start the bottoming operation, because in die opening itself you should give it such a shape that when load comes, the spring bed is automatically calculated in that. Now doing this bottoming, load is nearly 3 to 5 times more compared to the air bending. So it is not very useful in the industries, and it is recommended that this bottoming should be done up to 6 mm thickness. The third one is a coining. Now this coining is a ultimate. I mean, the material is compressed fully. No need to calculate in spring back because it is totally pressed and gives the shape which is given in the whatever shape you have the die and punch, it will give. And so sometimes that nose radius it becomes less than the thickness of the material also. So this condition in this metal is already set. Inside bend radius usually what I have already explained, that is less than the thickness of the material. This coining operation is not recommended much, and it's not very much in use in the industries because 5 to 7 times load is required for the coining operation compared to the air bending, and this is recommended only up to the 12 gauge sheet. 12 gauge is around 2.5 millimeter thickness. So this is was all about coining operation.
What are the types of punches and dies are used in press brake?
Uh, the punches is either is a semi gooseneck or straight punch or fully gooseneck punch or sometimes flat punch and flat die for the hemming operation. This type of punches are used in the press brake, and die is a multi-V die also people are using the full block, but it's not easy to handle that full block. So segmented dies and segmented punches are used, and a single V die also used in the segments. So these are about the, and one more thing that this material, this punch and die what we are using are quenched, and hardness is get we flame hardening is done, and then the quenching is done so that we can get the hardness about say 50 to 55 HRC or something like that. The Rockwell hardness I had talked about earlier.
Right.
And the material normally used is known as a tool steel, like T8, T10, CRMO4, CRMO 42 CRMO4, then one CR12 MOV, molybdenum vanadium. So this type of material are used for the die and punches and all.
What is the importance of various radiuses in punch and die?
Various radiuses.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, very much importance is there. See, the standard radiuses are there, then the good bending will come. So some standards are already made, like punch radius. It should be either equal to or less than the thickness of the material. Other is called the edge, die edge. Die edge radius should be half of the thickness of the material. And the die opening, what we call it, radius on the job, it should be approximately 16% of the die opening. These are few standards, I mean, you should follow it. It's not very strict that you have to follow this, but these are taken as a standard. So people are following this. See. Normally, earlier we have already discussed that the die opening should be 8 times the thickness up to 8 mm. But if it thickness is more than 8 mm, then we have to use 10 into T. Yani, die opening should be 10 times the thickness. There that thumb rule will not work. And if your this is up to 10 mm. 10. And if about 12 mm and all that, then you have to use the 12 into T. The thickness, 12 times the thickness, your die opening should be there.
Okay.
Right.
Why single V die is preferred to multi V die?
See, multi-V die is, if you want to set the multi-V die, it takes so much time. So it's a loss of production and all that. But if you use the single V die, it takes no time to set because you remove one die and push the another die. So setting time is very less. So it means you get the more production. It is self-centering type and all that, right? And sometimes you need Z bend you want to make. So these all Z bend and such bends are possible and easy to make in the single V die. So that is why single V die are used more compared to the multi die.
What are the benefits of quick clamp?
Quick clamp itself says that you can clamp it quickly. It takes very less time. So you can increase the production other way. And sometimes setting of the taper wedges and all that, taper wedges are also provided in the press brake. So local wear and tear in the, you can adjust by the taper wedges also. And wear and tear of the tools can be taken care of by the wedges and all that. And quick clamp, as I told you, it is time saving particularly. Other clamps are that you have to open it, you set, then again you try it. It will take time. So quick clamp, you just put it and push the button and it will work. So it's a time saving and production saving in other way.
What are the types of baggage mounting on CNC press brake?
Mounting, yeah. There are three types of mounting in the press brake. One is mounted on the table, one is mounted on the side plates, and one is mounted on the floor. So, see the disadvantages and advantages if we talk about the back gauge which is mounted on the table. Now, table is going to, there is chances that it may deflect here and there because of the deflection device and all that. So, it is a slightly accuracy loss in mounting on the table. Side frame is very less deflections are observed compared to the table. So, but there is still some deflections are there. So, accuracy loss is there also. It is less compared to the table mounting, but it is still there. But the floor mounting back gauge, it is not in contact with the machine at all. It is individually mounted in the floor. So it is free of all the deflection and whatever other things the machine has to do. So it gives the best mounting accuracy and all that. So these basic three things are there.
Okay. What is special about Accurpress back gauge?
Accurpress back gauge is first is a extruded aluminum basic there, and it is using the high accuracy ball screws. That is one speciality of that, and 3-point gauging fingers are used in that back gauge. Speed is also good, accuracy is very good, and you can add one extra finger to increase the efficiency and the productivity.
Okay. What is the importance of bending flange while calculating a bending load?
See, flange is totally dependent on the die opening. So die opening dictates what should be the flange and all that. So always all the machines are pasted. The chart, the bending chart is pasted on the ram itself, so that you can refer where what is the maximum flange is allowed. Because it is not easy to explain without the chart. So chart it shows if the die opening is more, your flange size will be more. The die opening is less, your flange size you can go less. So it all depends upon the die opening.
How can I bend high thickness material if machine tonnage is not sufficient under standard condition?
So it's simple. See, the higher your press brake tonnage is not sufficient and still you want to bend, you have to increase the die opening. See, if you increase the die opening, load will become less. If you decrease the die opening, load will be more. To require the bend, the material, your load will be more if the die opening is less. So here you just increase the die opening and you will get the sufficient load. If your die opening, standard die opening is say 60 millimeter or whatever it is, and it's not sufficient for the load, you increase to 70, 80, whatever it is, the load will. But in that case, one thing is there. Earlier question we discussed about the flange.
Bending flange.
So flange should not be the criteria.
Okay.
That you need very less flange, at the same time you want to bend the material, that both not possible. You have to sacrifice the flange. Flange will be more because we are increasing the die opening. Now as the die opening will increase, the flange will also increase. So if your flange increasing is a criteria, then you cannot bend. But otherwise you can just increase the die opening and bend the job.
Okay.
Simple as that.
What is X prime finger on the Accurpress back gauge and what are its advantages?
X prime finger is adjustable, so you can fine tune it. See, plus 25 millimeter, minus 25 millimeter, you can adjust it by hand. So that is a specialty of a X prime finger. And the advantage is, suppose you want to bend a taper job or something like that, you can always adjust by hand. You can fine tune the job and you can get the taper job done.
What is CNC X prime finger?
CNC is, you can program it on the controller.
Okay.
The X prime finger, which we are adjusting by hand, this you don't have to do, just program it. The servo will do it, servo X prime finger will adjust itself.
How to clean and maintain our back gauge?
Cleaning of the back gauge, you take a clean cloth and or peripheral part of the back gauge.
Okay.
You can clean it by force and then grease ball screw properly.
Okay.
And check the tightness of the nuts and bolts in use because it is always running. So if any bolt or nut get loosened up, just properly check that it is tightened properly. Check the slackness and the tightness of the belt and all that. If it's not proper, you can adjust it.
What are the applications that required additional axes like X1, X2, R1, R2, Z1, Z2?
That if you have so many negative and positive bends and your flanges are ups and down, you have to gauge it, and your width is all different. So to control all these things at a time, you need all these axes: X1, X2, R1, R2, and Z1, Z2. It takes care of length, width, and other things.
If customer does not have budget or machine does not have Z1, Z2, how can they increase the machine efficiency and productivity?
Very simple. You add one more finger.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't need the Z1. Okay. By adding only one more finger, your purpose is served.
Why do we need a bumping mode in making a bigger radius on the job?
Bumping mode, you see, the bigger radius jobs are not many. Seldom some jobs are coming. It's not in huge quantity that every day you have to use it.
Yes.
So the customer is not possible for him to make all sorts of big radius punches and inserts and all that. It's very costly, you know. Yes. So this particularly bumping mode is an added facility given in the machine.
Okay.
So by using that, you can have the bigger radius, but that radius will not be smooth, very smooth. I tell you, it is only a facility. So it will not be very smooth. If you put your hand over the radius, you will find that it's not smooth.
Yes.
Some I mean, things are coming, faults are, you will find it. So it's an additional facility, but actually the finished job, if you want, you have to go for the actual radius punch. So if the customer cannot afford it, he can use that facility, and he said, okay, this radius will do because it's costly. Otherwise, the other punches are costly.
How many ways the oil get contaminated in the machine?
Oh, there are so many ways it get contaminated, but I will tell you the five contamination in the oil. This contamination is always a problem in the hydraulic system. So we'll discuss one by one. The first contamination is known as a built-in contamination of the oil. Now this built-in contamination you cannot avoid actually, because built-in contamination comes from the machine manufacturer. When they manufacture the machine and supply you, though they clean it, everything, they're flushing the system, doing a lot of things, but these contaminations are in microns, big particle about say 15, 20 micron and all that. So whatever they do, they make the hydraulic block and all that, the drilling, then the tapping, then the cleaning, but somewhere some little metal particle or a welding spatter somewhere in the pipeline or other installation of the hydraulic things are already there. Tank they already clean, but you never know. Something is left. So that is beyond the reach of I mean manufacturer also.
Yes.
So that you can't do anything. That is built in. So basically you have to use the good filters, fine filters, so that such particles can be uh,
Remove.
taken care of.
Yeah.
The second one is known as a generated contamination. Now, generated means it is generated while the machine is working. All the components are in use. All the valves are using. The pumps is running. So it's all metal components. So over a period of time, it's a long time it takes. Uh, some wear and tear are there. So some metal particles will included in the oil. So this is generated. Initially they are not there. So some say seals are there, hydraulic cylinder is there. So you use the rubber seals and some sort of seals. So small part of the rubber is cut and goes into the oil. Or this is all contamination is generated inside the machine while it is running. So that is why it is known as a generated contamination. The third contamination is known as the air contamination. See, foaming is when the throttling is done, or the foaming in the tank of the oil tank is happens. So that is because of the air, or air is included in the air. The compressibility is also not properly come in this. So to save from the air contamination, you should take care that your system, hydraulic system, is not exposed to the air, atmospheric, I mean, so that you can protect in that way. The next is the water contamination. Now, this particular contamination, the main source of the water is from atmosphere, is from the what we call it, humidity.
Yes.
The humidity is more in the air.
Yes.
You will find the water in the air is more. So there you have to use certain traps, because every hydraulic system has a breather, oil tank is there, every entire system is closed. Only air breather on top of the tank is there, from where the air goes inside the tank and air coming out. When oil is going into system, air enters in the tank, and the oil is coming back into the tank, the air is coming out. So when air goes in, if that air is the humidity is more, that air will go in and the water particles will go as a droplets inside the. So avoid that. You have to use the particular type of what we call it breather. And one very famous breather is known as a Donaldson's uh, trap breather. It's a very special breather is coming. It's known as a Donaldson trap. Trap is not TRAP, simple word. T.R.A.P. Is the full form is thermally reactive advanced protection. That is the meaning of the trap.
Okay.
So if you use that, you can avoid this water contamination from the system.
Okay.
See, and the fifth one is a chemical contamination. Now, this chemical contamination, you know, chemical oil itself is a chemical, and chemical has its life, and it gets contaminated over a time because it degrades.
Yeah.
See, oil, if you keep it for 3 years, 4 years without doing anything, even then, because of the time, over a time or over a period of time, it will degrade.
Yes.
So that contamination will come, and this mainly happens when heat is more.
Okay.
Your machine is taking so much heat, or your process of the hydraulic is such that its throttling is more,
Okay.
right? So in that case, your temperature goes high, and if the temperature goes high of the oil, it may go up to 60 degrees centigrade or even more than 60 degrees centigrade.
Yes.
At that time, this particular oil, it will break, and will break into other chemicals.
Okay.
So these other particular chemicals that will damage your system, that will penetrate your protection of the hydraulic system.
Yes.
And so this type of contamination, if you want to save it from your machine, first thing is you should avoid throttling and all that, and you make sure that your system oil temperature does not go above 50 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
If it is not avoid to make it 50 degrees centigrade or that, if required, see somewhere in Gujarat or others where the temperature in summer it goes about 48, 47 degrees centigrade, there the oil may get heated up.
Yes.
So if you want to keep it at 50 degrees centigrade, you use a heat exchanger. So the water will circulate and oil also circulate throughout across the heat exchanger, and the water will bring the oil temperature down, and it will run at the 50 degrees centigrade. So you can avoid this chemical contamination by this. Last one I will tell you is the ingress particulate, or the technical way of saying that the dust particles and all that
Yes.
included in the system. That is also a contamination. This contamination normally happens when you are doing some maintenance of the hydraulic system.
Yes.
Then you are opening the
Machine.
tank and components of the. At that time, some dust particles and the dirt particles will go inside. So you should protect whenever you are doing the maintenance. You should see that this dust and are all taken care of. It not goes inside. So servicing when you are doing of the machine, you take care of that things, and this you can overcome.
Which type of oil is used in our press brake and shear, and what are the cleanliness codes for the oil?
Cleanliness level of the oil. Yeah, see, the type of the oil used is according to the atmospheric temperature. Like if you are running your machine in the Europe and other countries, or here in Simla or Kashmir or somewhere where temperature never goes above 27 or 28 degrees centigrade. So there you have to use a 48 number oil. But most of the places here in India, particularly if we talk about, the temperature goes above 46, 47, 48 degrees centigrade. There you have to use oil which the oil viscosity should be 68 centistocks.
Okay.
This 68 is a viscosity, and it is measured in a centistocks
Okay.
at 40 degrees centigrade.
Okay.
So whenever we define the viscosity, the 68, like any oil you use, when you define that viscosity, is a 68 centistocks. CST, that is the, so that oil should be used in a press brake where temperature is going high. And everywhere, if we have not supplied any machine in the Simla or Kashmir, you have to always use the 68 number of, it is known as a kinematic viscosity.
Okay.
Kinematic viscosity 68 centistocks. So that you have to, and you are asking about the cleanliness level, how to measure it, right? So there are three ways to measure the cleanliness level. One is called NAS. NAS is National Aerospace Society.
Okay.
It is developed in 1960.
Okay.
It is known as a NAS 1638. So in this, you can measure the cleanliness of oil.
Yes.
And second one, the latest version of it is known as SAE.
Okay.
SAE, it is SAE 4059.
Okay.
Okay, SAE is Society of Automotive Engineers. It is the latest version of NAS.
Okay.
But NAS is still in existence fully. So particularly if you call somebody or hire the agencies from the outside, they will give you the NAS cleanliness level by doing it for 24 hours or so. And the third code used for the cleanliness is ISO.
Okay.
ISO 44006. ISO's full form is International Organization for Standardization.
Yes.
So there they give, it is developed in 99, so it is known as a ISO 99. So this particularly, if you go for the NAS explains the total number of particles inside the oil.
Okay.
So that way, I mean, how many particles, what size of the particle, that is mainly. So in 5 steps, it is explaining.
Okay.
So that is 5 to 25 micron, 25 to 50 micron,
Okay.
50 micron, 50 to 100 micron, and above 100 micron.
Okay.
So it will give all the total number of particles in size. This, when I say 5 to 15, it is micron. I mean, this 15 micron you cannot see by eyes.
Yes.
It's very, very small. Micron is so small. And the ISO, it is giving in 3 steps only.
Okay.
ISO will tell you the cleanliness level in microns, that what are the particles above 5 microns,
Okay.
and how many particles are above 6 microns, and how many particles are above 14 microns. So these are the way you can use. And some hints if you want. I tell you, if you are using servo system, servo valves and all that,
Yes.
your NAS level should be 5.
Okay.
It is given by the numbers. And if you are using the proportional valve and proportional system of the hydraulic system, then your NAS value should be 6.
Okay.
But if you are using particularly flow control valve and vein pump, piston pump and such things, then NAS value of the oil should be 7. And but the conventional hydraulic components, if you are using the cylinder, oil and gear pump and all that, then NAS value should be around as 8.
Okay.
7 in the previous case, and this will be 8. So these are the standard. But by showing if you refer the charts of NAS, ISO, and the comparison of the ISO and NAS, then you will able to understand properly.
Yes, correct. What is the importance of the UPS?
UPS is an ininterruptible power supply.
Yes.
So that is used for proper uninterrupted power you should get. The voltage fluctuations are there. It will take care of that. Then lightning is happening.
Okay.
While raining season, some lightnings are there.
Yeah.
So that sort of things, fluctuation of the voltage and all that, this thing will this UPS will take care. So you get the power supply, and such problems are not occurring. That is why UPS is required. To save your system also.
Yes.
Suddenly some jerk, high voltage comes, it may damage your electronic equipment, electronic circuits or that. To protect all these things, you need UPS. It will take care of that. Whatever happens outside, it will give you the proper voltages without fluctuation.
Why the proper foundation is important in before installation of the machine?
See, foundation is weak, then building also collapse. So your foundation should be solid, which can hold the machine properly. I mean, it doesn't allow any vibration to come and all that.
Yes.
So that is why this foundation is so, and install all the heavy components in the machine with the proper torque range and all that, so that it doesn't give any vibration and all that. So rigid foundation is very much required to save the machine from the vibrates and other things. And whenever you are tightening the bolts with the torque range, you know the torque range?
Yes.
Particular heavy bolts and nuts are always denoted that it should be applied with this torque. So where then torque is always properly torque is always defined with a particular type of paste. So if you do not apply that paste while you are torquing it will not give you the proper torque. So always use the Molykote paste. Molykote paste, or if Molykote paste is not available, then use the molybdenum disulfide, which is known as a MOS2, molybdenum disulfide. That paste is available. So if you apply that on the thread of the bolt or nut face and everything, it will not only give the proper torque, it will give the proper torque, but it will be easy whenever you have to open. It does not allow rust to come inside.
Yes.
And it is heat resistant also. So that is why rigid foundation is there.
What is the general guidance which we need to keep in mind while we are installing the press brake, shear, or turret punches in our workshop?
Yeah, you have to see that whenever you are keeping your machine, you want to install your machine, you have to see that nearby, you always keep it away from the shot blasting machine,
Okay.
sand blasting machine, then paint shop where somebody is painting and a lot of paint is coming and damaging your component and all that. So your machine should be away from the shot blasting machine, paint shop, and shot blasting machine, and this sand blasting machine if you have there. And also you should see that your flow of the component. See, if you are doing some process,
Yeah.
you are giving your component from this machine, it goes to next machine, it goes to the next machine. There is a particular flow. So then it goes to the flow, then it goes to assembly, and then it goes to the painting shop, and then finally it is got for the dispatch. So you have to see also that it is coming in the proper way of the setup of the production also. So that is important.
Okay. How to bend laser cut uneven part without direct reference points?
So you cut one piece. See, if you want to get the laser cut part, you cut the same piece from the laser cut and fix it in the finger, back gauge finger, and you can gauge it.
Okay.
It's simple as that. And if you see the figure, you will able to understand immediately.
Action.
What are the general maintenance guidelines of the press brake?
Guidelines: you should keep your machine clean.
Okay.
And you should strictly follow the service manual which is given by the manufacturer and all that.
Okay.
Where if it is said that this particular thing you should do every 15 days or every month, you should check the tightness of the bolts and nuts. So all such things strictly follow that manual and do it. And at the same time, you should check also that your oil is not getting heated up.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you check the temperature of the oil also. That it's everything is fine. It is not going above 50 degrees centigrade and all that. All this type of care you should take.
What are the features of the Accurpress ETS T17 controller?
ETS controller is 2D graphical touch screen programming. It is 17-inch high resolution TFT.
Okay.
And then bend sequence calculation is also done in that. 8 plus 1 axis, all 9 axes we were talking about, it is possible to program from ETS. It is advanced y-axis control is possible from that ETS.
Okay.
And it is having 1 GB memory, I think so. Yeah, let me see that. Yes, 1 GB memory capacity is there. And CAD and DXF files you can import.
Yeah.
So this is the speciality of the ETS controller.
Okay. What are the 3 important features for a quality cutting?
Important features. Yeah, this is positive gripping of the material when you want to do the shearing.
Yes.
If the material is not gripped properly, hold, it will give uneven cut or it may not give a clean cut. It will damage the. So holding cylinder should grip it firmly. That is one.
Yeah.
And second thing is rack angle.
Yeah.
There is a lower blade and there is a upper blade. They are not parallel. There is an angle between two. It is moving like this.
Yes.
So this rack angle is also very important. If the rack angle is high,
Yeah.
your cutting will not be as clean as with the low rack angle you can get.
Correct.
And the third is a proper clearance, blade clearance. When blade is running like this, one over other, there according to thickness of the material you want to cut, we have to keep the clearance.
Yes.
So if this clearance is also important. This is the third point.
Yes.
The third point is the proper clearance of the blade.
Yes.
So that clearance you should keep around 5 to 7% of the thickness.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Or other way you can say that there is another way of giving that always keep 0.06 mm per mm.
Okay.
You understand? If you are cutting 1 mm, you should keep 0.06 mm clearance. 5 mm, then per mm 0.06. So 0.06 into 5. So it is 0.3. So your clearance should be 0.3. So that is one. This is up to 10 mm. Above 10, you should keep 0.04 mm per mm. So this is slight difference is there. So these 3 points are important for the clean cutting.
Okay. What are the other factors which we have to keep in mind for a quality cutting?
That is one that you should have a good machine first of all. Good quality machine you should have. That is the first condition. And the knives you are using, lower knife and upper knife, should be properly sharpened.
Yes.
It should be blunt. If it's blunt, it will give you not quality cutting. Your clearance setting should be proper, and above all, your material should be quality material.
Okay, great.
The material which you are going to cut, it is having a lot of stress inside the material, or it is wavy, or the uneven thickness.
Yeah.
All these things will give the bad cutting result.
Yes.
So just that also you have to keep in mind for the quality cutting.
Okay.
These 3 things you should remember.
Okay. What care we should take while cutting the aluminum or SS material?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, whenever you are cutting this, you should set your blade clearance properly, first of all.
Yes.
Right? And after few strokes, particularly for aluminum and SS, more particularly for SS, after few strokes, you should check your blade that some particles are not sticking on the face of the blade.
Okay.
If some particles are sticking on the face, this aluminum, though it is known as a very soft, but when it comes in between the blades,
Yeah.
it gives a very deep scratch on the blade. and it will damage the blade and all that. So that if you find any particular particles sticking on the face, you should clean it.
Okay.
Not clean it by just a cloth. You have to take kerosene, put your cloth into the kerosene, and with that shop it, and then with the kerosene mix that cloth, you wipe it out and clean it, and then take again few strokes,
Okay.
and again check.
Yeah.
Whenever those particles are there, you have to clean it by kerosene.
What are the common effects which we are observing in shearing machine, and why it is happening?
Yeah, there are three these common things happen. One is called bow,
Yeah.
BOW, bow. Another one is twist, and third one is camber.
Okay.
So we'll discuss one by one.
Yeah.
See, the bow is, if the material is cut, it takes a, whatever material is keeps on cutting, it will take bend like this.
Yeah.
So it takes shape like this. So that is called bow. Particularly if the thin material is there and you don't have the back seat supports available, this
Yes.
bow will come. If you are cutting very narrow strip, narrow means minimum you should cut 20 into T.
Okay.
T is thickness.
Okay.
If your thickness is 2 mm, so 20 into 2 is 40. So you should not cut less than 40 mm width anytime. If you do that, bow will come.
Yeah.
To avoid this, you use that back seat support,
Yes.
or and this is a narrow strip you should not cut, and or you can turn the possible, you change the direction of the
Shape.
material.
Yeah.
See, material when it is produced, it has got a trailing edge and a forwarding edge. It's a direction of rolling. If the seat is manufactured, it is a rolling direction.
Yes.
So in parallel, if you cut, it will give more bow. So if possible, I
Yeah.
say if possible, you turn it
Yeah.
and cut it right angle to the direction of
Rolling.
rolling. So it will give slightly better result.
Yes. Okay.
And the second one is twist.
Okay.
Twist, as it tells, this is called twist. So if you are cutting very narrow strip,
Yeah.
it will twist it.
Yeah.
So there also you should not keep less than 20 into T. At the same time, your rack angle should be proper,
Yes.
so that if excessive rack angle is there, then it may give you a twist. And if your blade clearance is not proper, it may give you the twist.
Okay.
So there are so many factors that so you have to take care of these things.
Yes. Correct.
The third one is camber.
Mm.
Camber, actually it is not a problem of machine. It's purely or mostly, I would say, the problem of material itself.
Okay.
See, material, if the material is having so much stress inside it,
Okay.
built-in
Yes.
stress. So when you are cutting it, that stress is relieved.
Yeah.
Stress means it's relieved, so it may take any shape.
Yeah.
So when you are cutting, it goes away from the bed, and finally when you find that it becomes like a sword.
Yeah.
So that is the defect. That defect is due to the stress inside the material.
Okay.
So you should always use stress-free material. And to, minimize that, you can also take right angle to the direction of rolling.
Yeah.
So it will take care. And other things like clearance setting and all that you should keep in mind.
Okay.
And you can avoid this. More, if the clearance is more, it will just give the rough and the burrs, too many burrs. You know the burr?
Yeah.
Not clean cutting. It will be cutting with the burrs.
Yes.
If the clearance is more, it will be give burr cutting. And the clearance is less than the required, it will give the double cut. You will find a step while
Yeah.
you are cutting. So that also you should take care.
When front caging is used in a shearing machine.
See, if the sheet is very thin, when you are trying to gauge it on the back side, it will just droop and you will not able to gauge it properly.
Yeah.
And your backside seat supports are also not available.
Yeah.
In that case, you should use the front gauging so that you get the accuracy.
What is the material used in our blade for our shearing machine?
This material is known as D2.
Okay.
Mostly tool steel is used in this. This is a combination of chromium silicon and particular part of tungsten is added to improve the quenching quality of the material. Or otherwise, you can use the CRMO4, same material, and also CR12 MOV, this molybdenum vanadium. Same material can be used for the shearing blades.
What is the proper method of placing a sheet under the holding cylinders?
The material should cover the full area of the holding cylinder disc. It should not be half left either on either side, maybe
Yeah.
lengthwise or widthwise. Otherwise, it will damage the seal of the seal of the holding cylinder.
Okay.
So, to compensate that, if it is half left, you should put an extra piece lengthwise or widthwise. That if you see the picture, you will clearly able to understand.
Yes.
So that if you put the extra piece, it will give the proper gripping.
Yeah.
And the proper cutting will be done.
How can we make sure squareness of the seat?
Take edge cut lengthwise and widthwise by the help of squaring arm. You will get the squareness of the seat.
Okay. How Accushear is different than other shear in market?
See, there are basically two types of shear. One is called guillotine shear, where the ram is coming down with the guides or rollers. It's coming down and cut like this. This is the and other type is known as a swing beam. So beam is supported somewhere, and this beam is coming like this, like swing. You know, na? Small children are swinging all. So swing beam shear is there. So this, but the Accurpress, this shear is a patented design. It is having the swing link design. It's a patented design by the Accurpress, and it has very rigid machine, and it is using very low rake angle. If you compare of the Accurpress 6 mm shear and other make shear, rake angle there with the 6 mm will be more compared to the Accurpress shear. So low rake angle shear, and that is the basic difference. Structure is heavy and blade clearance is only one side. So that is also advantage and a special very feature for the Accurpress. So that and shear is power pack is provided with the heat exchanger. Where earlier we in press brake we were talking about the oil temperature and all that. So that is taken care of this year. It is built-in heat exchanger is there. So the temperature remains same. So these are all good features of the accuracy here.
Okay. What are the features of Accushear back gauge?
It is having a ball screw with AC servo plus a very good speed is there compared to others here. It's a good speed with accuracy and auto retract feature is also there, so that once you gauge it and the cutting starts, it retracts so that the cut material is not trapped in between somewhere. So these are the basic features of the back gauge of the shear,
Okay.
back gauge of the accuracy.
Accushear. Is it possible to cut sheet at an angle?
Yes, of course. If you use the protector squaring arm, any degree you set, you can cut at that particular thing.
Okay.
It's possible.
Which type of front support for seat or plate we should use?
You can keep a suitable size table in front of the shear and mount a multi-directional rollers, ball rollers for
Rigid.
supporting the seat, so that easily you can feed forward the seat and sideways other also you can take. And if you see the figure, you will able to understand immediately.
Okay. How can we reduce noise pollution and transfer of vibration to other machine while cutting heavy thickness of material?
So see, when the heavy material is cut, the dropped cut piece will drop backside, so it will give bit sound. So at the end, you can provide a wooden type of platform or something so that it doesn't give very sound and all that. And for save your machine or the other machine from your machine, you should when you are making the foundation, your machine and the floor, you should keep a certain gap between the machine foundation and the floor, and that gap you should fill with the sand. So whenever vibration goes from your machine, the sand will take care and the vibration will be die inside the sand. Or any vibration coming from the other machine to you, that will also has to come through that sand. So all around the machine, that sand is there, it will take care of vibration. Neither any vibration will go from your machine to other machine, nor any other vibration from machines will come to your machine. So that way it can end.
Can you please explain the shearing process and its advantages and disadvantages over the laser cutting?
Yeah, the shearing process is actually it's not cutting at a time. It's not that both blades are parallel. When you force it, it just cut like this. But it is at angle. So upper blade is coming at an angle, and it is cutting coming like this. So it is cutting is going on from this end to this end. When the blade is clear the other end, the material is cut. So it is another way you can say that it's a progressive cutting.
Okay.
So progressive cutting at a time certain area will be in contact. So that is the process of the shearing. Now I will explain the principle of shearing. This is a very simple principle of the shearing. When the upper blade comes down and both the blade, start cutting, the upper blade and the lower blade both will penetrate the material. That will penetrate the material up to the shear strength of the material. Any sheet metal will have its own shear strength. So both will penetrate up to the shear strength of the material. Now when both the blade, upper blade and lower blade, reach the shear strength of the material, the unpenetrated part that will automatically fractured or teared. So it means that it is not 100% shearing. When you shear we are saying that this material is sheared, but it is never 100% sheared. It is sheared and part of it is teared. Now it depends upon the shear strength of the material. The shear strength is more, it will penetrate more, and the unpenetrated area will be less. But if the shear strength is less, it will penetrate very less, and more unpenetrated area will just tear down. So that way it is continuously going on, and finally it will keep on going till the material is not fully cut and dropped. So that is the principle of the shearing machine. And you are asking something about advantage and disadvantage about the laser cutting. So shear cutting, when you are doing the cutting in the shear, it never generates the temperature. there is sheet is never getting heated up.
Okay.
So basically after the shearing, it will, the mechanical properties and the chemical properties of the material will remain the same because there is no heat is applied.
Okay.
And the disadvantage is it cut only straight way, or only by protector it can give only a angle cut, but it cannot give the different shapes.
Shape.
Whereas in the laser cut, it can give any shape. The disadvantage is that it gets heated up so much because it is cut by the laser, so heating is there. So whatever is cut part there, the age and all that, the material will lose its chemical and mechanical properties. So that is disadvantage is there, and advantage that it can cut in any shape. That is the advantage of the laser.